Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start talking about the topic, let me complete one very pleasant duty which I couldn't do last year. Let me thank the organizers and especially Dr. Anilkar for bestowing on me the Global Excellence Award last year, which I was not able to receive in person. Thank you so much. And thank you again for giving me this opportunity of sharing my thoughts with you. When we talk about energy, any outlook has basically three questions: whether there are enough resources and whether it is secure, and in today's circumstances when the environment has become very, very important, whether it is sustainable. And answer to the first question is yes, there is abundant source available. I mean, talking about the demand which is projected by all the pundits, the demand of energy will grow at by 37% by the time 2040, and most of this is going to come from unconventional resources, and most of this demand is going to generate in non-OECD countries, predominantly by China and India. And China and India means non-OECD countries will grow at a rate of 2.35 or 3 or 2.4%, whereas in OECD countries the demand will grow at 0.2% or maybe fall. Similarly, gas will grow, and by the time 2040, both this fossil fuels or hydrocarbons means oil and gas will contribute about 25% each, and coal will again contribute about 25% each, and the 1/4 which is left will come from low carbon fuels or alternate fuels, etc. Coal demand will keep on decreasing a little. Oil will again be slower. The gas will be faster, and the gas, in case of gas, the demand will or the output will come majorly from unconventional sources, and predominantly from US, and later from after their shale gas production sort of tapers off from China, etc. Talking about India, what Deepak said, that we are today producing consuming about 691 million tons of primary energy, and for growth, if energy elasticity is 0.8%, we'll be needing 1700 million tons. This cannot be met entirely by hydrocarbons, but I mean there are methods that everyone has to try. The way the Prime Minister has talked about providing energy or providing electricity 24/7 by 2020, that means the power generation has to increase. Coal production has to almost double in that period of time. Contribution of renewable has to come in a very big way, the way he has a vision of 175 gigawatt of solar, wind, and renewables and biofuels, etc. But as far as hydrocarbon is concerned, because I have spent 38 years of my life in the hydrocarbon industry, we have only 3 or 4 things. I mean, first of all, we have to increase production from the existing fields. Existing fields, as far as ONGC and Oil India are concerned, which are contributing nearly 80% of country's total production, the production is coming predominantly from oil fields. So it is not possible to increase production very, very easily. I mean, every marginal barrel costs more and more. Therefore, there has to be fiscal incentives for producing this. I mean, if you go for EOR or anything, we have been making a case that today with oil prices going down, this case is more sort of pronounced. But even otherwise, when oil was being sold at $100 and ONGC and Oil India were getting only about $50 after a discount of $56 being given, it was not possible to produce new oil, and it was just not possible to produce this EOR oil. I mean, I'll just give you a figure. Bombay High, where global cost of production of ONGC is about $40 a barrel. Incremental production from first phase of EOR was about $7. The second phase of EOR, which was implemented, another $12. So I mean, at $60 also, it is not viable to produce the EOR oil. So what we had collectively, Oil India and ONGC had proposed that either this EOR oil, etc., should be differentially taxed, means there should be fiscal incentives given in terms of less rates of royalty and cess, etc., because it is not possible to sort of price it differentially. You have to have same price for oil, whether it is oil, regular oil or it is EOR oil. But it is possible to give this kind of fiscal incentives. Second thing is to marginal fields. Marginal fields which are there more than 200 in numbers, both between ONGC and Oil India. Again, it is possible to produce them by giving them fiscal incentives, either providing faster depreciation or giving some kind of slab-wise production. So these are the kind of things. And third is increasing exploration impetus. That is what government has been doing. 9 rounds of NELP have already been over. The 10th round is on the anvil. But the government is caught between this revenue sharing model and the cost recovery model. The Honorable Minister himself has been talking about this hybrid model where probably the deep waters where projects are highly capital intensive can be on cost recovery model, and others which is shallow water and onshore could be on revenue sharing model. But the time is running out. I mean, it's been more than a year. Last year in January, this 58 blocks were sort of unveiled, and it is March of next year, but still we have not decided. And today our exploration intensity is one of the lowest. I mean, 22% area is not even explored, and in between the area which is explored is moderate. Only 22% area has been well explored. So there is a lot of this thing area, which about 1 million square kilometer, which is yet to be explored. So these are the things which are required, but other like fiscal incentives besides this are which have been waiting for a long time, like inclusion of gas in petroleum oil definition, which was included only for once, or giving infrastructure status, or including oil and gas, etc. in GST. These are the things which have been long in the wish list of the oil producers, but somehow not happened. All these have to be done, then probably production can increase. But all said and done, given the prospectivity of Indian basins, it will still not be possible to increase or meet the demand of country by this. So we have to go out and have as much of equity or corporate assets as possible. And for that, it is required that the government also comes forward and helps Indian companies to have a collaboration with their counterparts, or all on government-to-government basis. We should sort of adopt the model which Chinese have done. I'm not saying that we must emulate or follow Chinese in toto, but India Inc. Should be our mantra. I mean, wherever we are going, I mean, let's take an example of Africa, which requires everything. So if we can offer them infrastructure development through all our PSUs, they are rich in other minerals, diamonds, copper, other things. I mean, we have PSUs which can do all this. So if we can go and offer this as a basket, probably we can make more dent into acquisition of assets or corporate acquisition than what we have been doing. Today we are already present in 24 or 25 countries, but our contribution is not much. I mean, it is singularly OVL, which is producing about 8.5 million, and I'm not too sure whether any other company is producing as much. So it is not even 10% of total countries' today's production, which is coming from our overseas. ONGC had done an exercise of perspective plan of 2030, in which what we had found that by 2030, if ONGC has to provide at least 20% of countries' needs, we need to produce 130 million tons. And out of this 130 million ton, only 70 was able to be produced from our domestic assets. 60 million ton is required to come from outside. So to increase it from 8.5 million ton today to 60 million ton will require all these efforts. I mean, this one, bit by bit taking one asset, two assets in a year will not help. There will have to be a giant leap if we really want to make that dent and make country self-sufficient.